and I'm going to get off. Thanks, guys, for joining the call tonight.
All right. Now, Carrie, I got one question here before you go.
Sure.
When we are finished here, do we just hang up? Is that it?
Yes. When you guys are done and all good to go, then you don't have to worry about doing anything with the conference line. You guys are all set.
Okay. Very
all
good.
Right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. What I would like to do, if we could, is just, I don't know if we can go around and just sort of introduce ourselves and, tell how many children we have and tell us a little bit about the child with the hearing loss a little bit, and maybe just a brief moment of testimony about how you found that out. Maybe it might be a good way to start this off, and I'll just start myself. Of course, Carrie introduced me. I'm Chris Jeanette. We live down here in Albany, Illinois, and my wife's Krista, and we have 4 children, Nathan, Caleb, Abigail, and Hannah. Our 3rd child was Abby. She was born in July 31st, 2007, and we found out through newborn hearing screenings that she was profoundly deaf in both ears. And so that's how my journey began. I don't know if somebody else wants to take up from there. That'd be great.
Sure. This is Jim Chrysos. I've got 2 step-kids and 2 kids of my own. Our 4-year-old Jimmy was the newborn hearing screening, found out that he was failed the test, so we went to Children's Memorial, did the ABR testing, and found out that he's got sensory neural hearing loss in both ears. One's moderate to profound, and the other one's mild to moderate. So we're, went from EI to the school district, so we're kind of fighting with them now, trying to get him to get some speech and, help with understanding what we're saying versus just, hearing it. Because he does talk pretty well, but, and he tests good with that regard, but he still has some issues understanding people.
Okay. All right. Someone else?
Hi. My name is John. My wife, Rebecca, and I have, with our first and only child, Josie, who's now 5 months old, through various ABR tests, found that she was profoundly deaf in both ears, and we're in the final stages of candidacy for cochlear implants. Hoping once we get final results for MRI, we can get her hooked up for cochlear implants here in the next month or so.
All right. Okay.
This is Paul Johnson, and my wife Becky and I found out about 2 years ago that our daughter, who's now 5, has bilateral progressive hearing loss. And when we first found out, we heard her saying "what" a lot, and she was hearing at around 50 decibels or so, and that's creeping down to around 80, 100 decibels in some of those ears, in both of those ears. And so we too are looking at options for cochlear implants, but at the same time actually looking into cord blood stem cell research, and as well as just exploring the causes. Nobody's figured out the cause yet. Mm-hmm. But there's always something new popping up, and this definitely takes a good part of our lives. A lot of attention.
Right.
So I'm happy for a group like this.
Right, no doubt. Okay, someone else?
Yeah, hi, my name is Andre Balian. I'm Carrie's other half, and our son Jack is severe to profound hearing loss and has a double cochlear implant right now. He was diagnosed at Condell Hospital up in Libertyville, Illinois, and they said, well, he was the first one they've diagnosed with the hearing loss, and back 11 years ago, almost 12 years ago, we were like, well, what do we do? They said, well, at first they said it may have been water in the ears. Just hold on another time. We'll do a couple more tests and we'll go through it, and it should clear up. Well, after the couple of tests, it didn't clear up. Then they did, if I'm not mistaken, his ABR, and I was sitting across the room, and Jack was sleeping, and they were doing the ABR, and I can hear it clear as day, and Jack didn't even move. So right there, we knew that Jack was deaf, but we fought through it, and he's a healthy young man, growing up fast and furious, and with his double cochlear implant, and he adores his two sisters, Maggie, who's 2, and Sophie, who's 1. That's our story.
Okay. All right, someone else?
This is Bob Brannigan, and Pauline is my wife, and we have 4 children. Our youngest is Tessa, and she's 4 years old, and she was diagnosed when she was 18 months with bilateral sensory neural hearing loss, and she's affected moderately to profoundly in both ears, and she has bilateral hearing aids, and she is enrolled at Child's Voice. That's where she goes to preschool, and doing well.
And this is Ajay Marwa. My wife is Andrea. We have 3 children. Our oldest is Samantha. She is now 10 and a half years old. We found out at age 2 that she had a hearing loss. We went through multiple hearing tests. I didn't know much. Actually, what I tell everybody is when Samantha was 2, I knew this thing on the side of our heads is called an ear, and that's where my knowledge stopped. Right. But I would say within about a year and a half, I knew more than I thought I would ever know about audiology, speech therapy, special education law, hearing technology. Really just took all the steps possible to educate myself and make the right decisions. So that's our story in a nutshell.
Okay. So, is there someone else? I got 6 guys here so far. Okay. Going through the list here, I think I'm talking with Jim. Didn't get the last name here on most of you guys. Jim.
Chrysos.
Okay. Jim and John. I got a Paul Johnson, Andre Ballion, Bob Brannigan, and Andre Mora.
Ajay, that is.
I'm sorry?
It's Ajay.
Ajay.
Yes.
I gotcha. Okay, guys, I got a list of questions here that just want to go over, and I'll try to not talk as much as I can here, and let you guys just bounce these things back and forth. The first question I want to go over is, what is the most surprising thing that you've learned from your child with a hearing loss? The most surprising thing that you've learned from your child with a hearing loss? And I'll just leave the floor for someone to take there.
Well, this is Paul Johnson. I'll jump in and say that one of the things that I'm surprised and makes me very excited and helps carry me through all of this is the fact that her hearing loss doesn't really bother her. It's part of her life, and she's just a happy, regular kid, and it's good to see that every day. While my wife and I are burdened with all these questions and things to think about, she's really not missing out on anything.
Right. Okay.
Something that surprised me is I thought it was kind of cool how that's, right when they're in the hospital after they're born, they do the test, versus, we were lucky enough to find out, pretty much right away, get him hearing aids pretty quickly versus waiting, until he's, 2, 3 years old and talking and figuring it out at that point, that something's wrong. So it's kind of interesting to find out that they do that so early, and, we're pretty thankful for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is Andre. I think the comment the gentleman before made, I'm sorry, I think it was Paul, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
I think it was that our kids are happy kids. It's like they're very, very resilient. You know, it's like with Jack's hearing loss, in every picture you look at when he was a little kid, you know, there's no tears. He was happy as happy could be. Hearing or non-hearing, he was having a ball, and they're very resilient. And now it's just great to see him happy and doing things like regular kids, riding his bike and just playing ball and doing all that stuff. So.
Yeah, I think this is Chris Jeanette again. I think for my wife and I, it's been quite amazing journey. You know, there's some things that Abby has done that has surprised me. Of course, I'm a minister here in our town. I'm on the radio, and I remember her hearing me on the radio one time, and she said, "That's you." And that was, you know, it was just neat to hear that coming from her, that she caught that, the distinction and everything. And you know, we've been surprised, pleasantly surprised, with our experience with the cochlear implants and how she's adapted to that. Even now, she's 4 years old now, and she's really becoming quite independent. She can go put her own batteries on, tell when they're getting low sometimes, and she'll go get them changed out. So that was a pleasant surprise there to see how she's adapted to that. And I appreciate what Andre Balian said, I think, about how, you know, they're just happy as they can be, you know, in the hearing world, out. You know, Abby has the choice to go back and forth, and, you know, she enjoys both worlds very much. And sometimes she wants to be in the silent world, and she plays with her dolls and things, and then she'll put her cokies on. We call them cokies, her implants, and she'll put those on and then play with her brothers and sisters and things. So that's been a pleasantly surprising thing there to see how she's adapted to that.
Chris, this is Paul again. I love the cokies term, but did you say that she recognized your voice over the radio?
On the radio, yes, sir.
With the implants?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's, you know, as we're looking at these as a possibility, you kind of wonder about their effectiveness, and it's great to hear something like that.
Yeah.
So let me chime in on that, just building on that comment and Chris's point. This is Ajay Marwa. I was actually sitting here thinking, what is my answer to this? Because we've been at this for 8.5 years now, and there's definitely things that have surprised me. But my daughter, she's enjoyed music, and I've heard that from many other parents that say their children enjoy music. When we were listening to a song in the car. It was a piano song, and we listened to it all the way through. She asked if we could hear it again, so I played it back, and she's been taking some piano lessons, so she's taken some interest in it. And I think one of the this has got to be the most surprising thing. She walked into the piano and just started poking at the notes, and I can't say the time frame, if it was a half hour, an hour, something like that. She was actually playing the song.
Mm.
So the fact that she could get the melody to a song that's on the radio, and she's not even that good at the piano, it makes me think about all those things that we hear. Can children with cochlear implants appreciate music? And I think they definitely can. So.
Oh yeah, I think so too. I mean, with Abby, you know, when the Dora song's playing or something, I mean, she'll get out there and cut a rug in front of the TV with that, man. And you know, that's been a neat thing because you know, when we were looking at the implants, when you know you go in for your device counseling to choose, we chose Advanced Bionics because at the time, of course, you know, everyone has its specialty. At the time that we chose Abby's, the Advanced Bionic was supposed to give a few more of the pitches or something to the effect, and I thought then that I would want to give her as much of that ability as I possibly could in case she ever wanted to play the piano. And I appreciate you mentioning that because I do hope that they will get musically inclined, not just Abby, but all my children, because I know I'm not. I can barely play the radio without static, but I'd like for them to do that.
I'll chime in here. This is Bob Brannigan. I'm Tessa's dad, and I think that she has bilateral hearing aids, and one thing that just strikes me is how at the end of the day it seems like she is many times just really exhausted. And you hear this from adults who wear hearing aids, is that it's hard, especially in crowded places in public where, you know, I think we're able to more selectively hear. Everything is coming into them, and there's a lot of processing going on, and there are just times at the end of the day where, you know, she's just exhausted. But when she wakes up and is refreshed, the first thing she goes for are hearing aids. It really clearly makes a difference, and I think that's the thing that surprises me as well. Is, you know, it's not a fight to get her to wear them and use them. I think that, you know, the world's a much different place for her being able to fully perceive everything going on around her. So that's something my wife and I thought was going to be a little bit more of a struggle, but really hasn't been, which we're grateful for.
Great. Yeah, I can definitely identify with being tired at the end of the day, because for us that are in the hearing world and have always been, we don't realize the energy that they put into hearing. And it does seem to tucker them out. Abby gets tired, and when she gets tired towards the end of the day, she'll take them off and set them down. You know she's getting ready to head to bed. So that's definitely a part of it.
This is John Prentice speaking. Our little baby Josie, just expounding on how happy kids are without hearing. For a little baby, she's extremely happy, and it's been a sober reminder for Rebecca and I that we have to continue to be happy and upbeat with her and to continue to engage her. You know, we've got some hearing aids for her right now that help, you know, minimally, but still the fact they help at all is encouraging. So we just feed off of her positive energy to continue to engage with her, to encourage whatever sound she's trying to make when she attempts to talk, even though she's only 5 months old and has whatever building blocks we have to prepare us for when we can get her outfitted for cochlear implants, which we are also picked out Advanced Bionics as well because of the new Neptune version, which is waterproof, and her grandma and freestyle, which will allow her to go swimming in her grandma and grandpa's pool this summer.
All right, guys, we'll take a little different direction here with our next question. What ways are you involved with your child's journey? For example, do you attend appointments? Did you help in the decision-making process? Things of that nature. And I'll just begin with myself here. Yes, I am, because of my occupation as a pastor of a church, I can dictate my schedule a little bit where some others cannot. I understand that totally. So I've been able to dictate my schedule to attend all the appointments every time she goes with my wife. And what we have done as a family is just made these, because we live in Albany, and all of our therapy and things of that nature is usually a distance. We travel every week right now for therapy in Evansville, Indiana, with a speech therapist, and then right now it's every 6 months to St. Louis Children's, which is 2.5 hours for us. So we make it a family excursion, basically, and get a night in a hotel, go swimming, and things of that nature. So we have tried to make the most of it on those kind of journeys, attending appointments. As far as helping make the decision, I mentioned that a little bit a moment ago. Some other guys have chimed in on that as well. My wife and I, we went, and, one of the difficult things for us was having to make a decision. Abby was a year old when we decided to go ahead and go with the first implant, and that was difficult to make that decision for her. but we thought by making that decision for her, we were giving her an option, because with the cochlear, was my thinking, was if she wanted to remain in the silent world, then all she had to do was just take those off, and she would be there. But if she wanted to hear, music and hear her siblings talk, and when we get together with extended family, wanted to be in conversation, she could be there as well. So that's how I have personally been involved in Abby's journey. So I'll let someone else go take it from there.
This is Paul Johnson, and my wife stays home with the kids. We also have a 2-year-old son, and so she does most of the doctor's appointments and calling insurance companies and all that stuff. But the only thing I've really been actively involved in is practicing her speech. Right when we noticed this, we talked to the school district to see what help they could offer, and they got her an IEP, and she now sees a speech therapist once a week, just to make sure that she's speaking at age. And so far so good, although with the loss has come a drop in dropping some of her syllables, and so I help her practice her words a couple times a week, and correcting her just so she realizes, hey, when I'm saying these kind of words, I got to remember to keep that S on, or make that T a little bit louder, and then we haven't had to make too many huge decisions here, but the implants will be one of them, and we're getting close to that bridge.
Okay. All right. Someone else want to chime in on that?
This is Andre again. Carrie and I make the decisions together for Jack. I work at the post office, so I can also kind of switch my schedule around, or when he needs to go to audiology appointments, we can see what the audiologist has to abide by our scheduling, so I can also go and chime in with Carrie and make the decisions with that. And so it's good to go up there and see how he does in the booth, and watch how he's doing and all that kind of stuff. So I enjoy going and seeing how he's doing, and then when they adjust him with his implants, and see how he does with all that stuff. So I also have a good part with Carrie in making the decisions with Jack and Carrie for his implants.
This is Jim Christos. I work during the day. It's not as easy to get off. Luckily, my wife is a stay-at-home mom, so she takes Jimmy to all his appointments and get his hearing aids adjusted, and to the doctor to get earwax removed. And actually, I may start going a little more to help hold him down, because he does not like getting the earwax removed from his ears. So I'll probably be going to more of that in the near future. But I do go to the IEP meetings at school, and certainly get involved with that regard, and then just reading books and stuff around the house with him.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead to the next question here. Has your child been able to hang out with other deaf or hard of hearing peers? And with our situation, we're in rural America over here in Olney, and Abby doesn't get to do that as often as we would like, and that's for sure. But when she does get around, she's got one friend over near St. Louis that we have met in the past, and boy, they just light up when they see each other's things. That's a real good experience. I see here that Illinois Hands and Voices has on their website, IllinoisHandsandVoices.org, there's some things there that we are encouraged to check out about get-togethers and things, and Carrie just went through a whole list of things there. So I appreciate God by Your Side and Illinois Hands and Voices trying to make this easier for us, and that definitely is the case there. But the question was, has your child been able to hang out with other deaf and hard of hearing peers?
This is Ajay. I'll go ahead and start. My daughter Samantha was, as I mentioned before, diagnosed at age 2, and she started at Child's Voice School at that point. And between age 2 and age 6, she was at Child's Voice exclusively, and it was to the point that she only knew children with cochlear implants and hearing aids. But even as Child's Voice has ended, she has kept in touch with the friends that she made at that time. So she does see them periodically, and yeah, she's made a lot of good friends.
All right, someone else?
This is Jim Christos. He doesn't have any friends really with hearing loss. There's one thing that we're trying to go to. I think it's in Springfield. It's like a week-long thing, like the Preschool Institute. And if we get to go there, I think it'll be nice because he'll be around other kids with hearing loss, for the first time. So that'll be interesting to see.
Right.
To get in there.
I know what you're talking about there. That's the Parent Institute in Jacksonville, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, at Illinois School for the Deaf, and that is fantastic. That was one of the greatest weeks of our experience, and really that helped my wife and I make some crucial decisions at a crucial time. So that will be great. If you haven't been able to do that, I think the group here with the Guide by Your Side, your wives are probably no doubt involved with this somehow or connected with it. I would definitely see about getting my name on that list to try to get in there. It's so helpful, so I highly recommend that. Appreciate you mentioning that, by the way.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, our fingers are crossed. We're on the list.
This is John Prentice. Yeah, we're hopeful to be accepted for the Parent Institute week also, and for the simple reason that Josie being only 5 months old, she doesn't have any playmates at this point. But it'd be better for us as the parents to be introduced to other parent peer groups, the institute, to get a better feel for what challenges we have ahead of us and what to look for. And we're very optimistic about everything, obviously, but still would be beneficial for us, probably more so at this point in stage of her life than for her, to be around fellow parents with experiencing the same issues.
Just as I've mentioned, one more thing about the institute there, the Parent Institute in Jacksonville, and most of you probably already know this, but just in case someone doesn't, we were telling them, well, we couldn't go because we had 2 other children at that time, and they said, well, we have something for them too. And of course, my other 2 children didn't have any hearing loss at all. But what was neat was they went through, they checked their hearing, and they played with them. They had activities for them and workers there, so my wife and I could enjoy the sessions and learn about the different things that we really needed to learn at that time. And so even if you have other children, you can still go to that. That's one of the beauties of the Parent Institute now, whereas they didn't used to do that years ago. But now you can bring along their siblings, and they have things for them as well. So that made it almost like a family camp for that week. So it was very enjoyable.
This is Bob Brannigan. I'm just going to chime in on your question about my daughter, Tessa. She's 4, and she has bilateral hearing aids. And it's interesting because, hearing loss is just part of her regular world. She's at an age where she's doing a lot of doll play at 4 years old, and her dolls have paper cochlear implants. She's not wearing cochlear implants yet, but her dolls are certainly wearing them. So I think all this is nothing out of the ordinary for her. In fact, we were out to dinner Saturday night, and she walked up to an older couple. They were sitting at the bench waiting to, get into the restaurant, and the older man had hearing aids in, and she said, "You have hearing aids." And he kind of looked at her. He actually couldn't hear her at first, I think, because it was so loud, but, he figured out that she was pointing at his hearing aids, and he was very sweet about it, just really was very warm and welcoming, and I think it's just part of her, she notices when someone else has cochlear implants or hearing aids, but it's not way out of bounds or out of the ordinary for her, which we're grateful for.
All right.
This is Paul Johnson, and I think that's exactly how our Vivian is. We really haven't met anybody else with hearing aids other than older people, some older family members, but it's kind of something that gives her a little bit of pride that she likes to show off to people. And we started calling them superhero ears when we first got them, just to have her kind of warm up to the idea, and that's what she's been calling them ever since. And not a day goes by where she doesn't see maybe someone on TV, like a news anchor, or especially we'll let her watch American Idol, and all these people have their earpieces in, and it's always shocking to her. Hey, look, he's got superhero ears.
Yeah.
Well, we have told her what the actual function of those are. She still likes that. But now I'm feeling very fortunate that we actually do have our reservation in at the Jacksonville camp this summer, and that will be our first real, or Vivian's first real exposure to other kids her age with hearing aids or cochlear implants.
All right, very good, guys. There's another question here, but I think we've already answered that one, so I'm going to go to the next one here to try to get us along here. What have been the siblings, for those that have more than one child, what has been the siblings' reactions to the child with a hearing loss? And for our experience, our oldest two boys, we have two boys before Abby, and they looked at it as just a normal process. Our oldest son was asking us one day, "Where is Caleb?" which is his younger brother. He said, "Where's Caleb's cochies at?" And he thought, that he just outgrew them. That Caleb had them at one time when he was younger, but outgrew them. So they just sort of thought it was a natural thing and not something odd. And we really got a kick out of that when he mentioned that, just to see that they just accepted it without any reservation at all. Okay, someone else want to?
This is Jim Christos. So our our 4-year-old Jimmy with hearing loss, his younger brother is only he's going to turn 2 in May. So he really doesn't know much difference. As far as Jimmy goes, he's asked a couple of times, like, where's our hearing aids? And we tell him we don't have any, and that's pretty much it. He doesn't really ask any questions. And then our youngest guy just doesn't really know any better.
All right, someone else?
This is Ajay. We have two other children, ages 8 and 5, and so since they're younger than Samantha, they've only known her that way, and it's interesting. I think our 8-year-old did ask at one point, and we explained it. I think she asked probably a few years back, but the 5-year-old he doesn't even think about it. It's normal to him.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and chime in here. This is Bob Brannigan, Tessa's dad, and so we've got 4 children, and the oldest ones are 14 and 13. And although Tessa, our daughter, uses hearing aids and is oral, we don't know what will happen in the future, and we obviously there are times where she doesn't have the hearing aids in, and so our older boys are both taking sign language, which has been a real interesting experience for them. And my wife and I are also taking a sign language class. And it's funny because you can definitely communicate on soccer fields and far away, not only with your child who has hearing impairment or hearing loss, but also your other children in ways that is very, very effective. So I think that's been a way to draw them closer and help understand a little bit more about, you know, kind of some of the challenges. It makes them more aware of the fact that when she doesn't have her hearing aids in, you know, she's certainly, you know, doesn't have the same hearing capability that she does otherwise.
All right. I'm going to move on here. I've just looked at the clock, and we got several questions left. Are there areas in which you wish you were more involved in your child's journey? And I know for me, we early on when we found out Abby had a profound hearing loss in both ears, and the hearing aids would not work. We started out a little bit. We had the videos. I can't remember the name of those now, but the lady that does them is Rachel. Somebody here might know what I'm talking about. But we were learning sign language, and I was getting pretty good at it, and it sort of slacked off a little bit. And I want to be more involved in that. I definitely need to get better at that right there and be more involved in that. Because Abby's learning that as well, because most, you know, I think everybody here knows that, you know, cochlear implants is not it doesn't heal deafness. It just provides, you know, the child the ability to hear when they want to hear. And there's times when Abby doesn't have that on that, you know, I would still like to say something to her where she would understand that. And, you know, I've still got some of those signs, but I know I need to be more involved in learning that. So I'll leave it at that. Someone else want to take up from there?
Yeah, Chris, it's Andre. Yeah, I think you're talking about the signing times videos, right?
Yeah, that is. That's it.
There you go. Yeah, we have that, and we watch that with Jack every once in a while, and even Maggie and Sophie watch that sometimes too, you know. So, and they've also caught on. We also, as a matter of fact, we also are taking sign language with Jack at his school that he goes to. And you're right. It's good to know that, and the cochlear implant really doesn't, you know, it doesn't heal. But it's good to have those signs, though. You know, then you could communicate with your son or daughter. And Carrie and I are slowly learning the sign language system, and the signing time videos really do come in handy, because Maggie and Sophie have actually caught on at 2 and 1 year old that they've caught on to some signs for please and sorry and no and stuff like that. So it does really help out.
Okay, someone else want to add to that? Okay. Our next question here. What was something that maybe you were scared or unsure of at first, but later when you look back, you realize it was okay? And I'll repeat that again. What was something that maybe you were scared or unsure of at first, but later when looking back, you realized it was okay? And, of course, for my wife and I, you know, the surgery is what scared us. Not what would be afterwards and everything, but just going through, you know, this, you know, here it is, a little child going through such a, you know, it was a tough thing to swallow, what was going to happen in surgery and things for us. And but looking at the record and, of course, the doctor that we had, we took comfort in that and felt it was the right thing to do and went through with it. And looking back now, you know, we're glad we did it. It worked out great. And I wish I could go back to myself, you know, in the past and just reassure it's going to be okay, because we had a tremendous experience in both times when Abby had her cochlear implants, and just a tremendous staff. We worked with the St. Louis Children's, and implants, and he gave us his cell phone and told us to call. And so, we were scared, but now we realize, didn't really have much to be scared of. That it was okay.
This is Bob Tessa's dad, and I think one of the things that we're all probably thinking about are just the social aspects. And our daughter's at a school now, obviously, for, I've mentioned Child's Voice, where she's with a lot of kids with hearing impairment. But we have another daughter who's 7 who has a lot of friends that are younger daughters around all the time. And I think back to when we were kids, it seems like I think kids in general could be meaner or tougher, and I've seen nothing but just encouragement and interest in her from my older daughter's friends. They really actually, I think just her personality, they really like Tessa a lot, but there's nothing awkward or unusual about her wearing hearing aids. People notice them sometimes they'll ask questions, but it's always in a very respectful, courteous way. And I know the kids go through different stages, and certainly adolescence is going to be another time when some of these issues tend to pop up significantly again. But I think so far I've been reassured. I do have concerns about the future, obviously, but so far so good as far as that goes, the social aspect of it.
This is John Prentice, Josie's father. Going back to the scare of the surgery for the cochlear implants. For us, it'll be the second surgery that our little Josie's had in her 5 months of life. At 8 weeks, without going into a lot of details, she's already had a surgery at 8 weeks for an imperforate anus, which essentially means that she has a retrofitted butthole. And that was extremely scary for us. And then you hear the sobering news shortly after that surgery, when they did the ABR test while we're still in the hospital, elated that surgery was successful, then to come crashing down that, she's profoundly deaf in both ears, and then with the likelihood that she'd probably be a candidate for cochlear implants after undergoing another surgery was shook us up pretty good. So I think we're dealing with it okay and gearing up for it, but seeing how, with the reminder that her other surgery went pretty smoothly, and this can only help her like the other surgery did, and that we just have to get over that anxiety of going through a second surgery and knowing that it's going to help her help her immensely by leaps and bounds, that she'll be able to hear and speak when she's old enough.
So this is Audrey. Let me build on the comments that have been made. I also validating the thoughts and fears, because I think what we felt at the time really does make sense. I think when you think of how grand it truly is, you need to pick the device maker and the surgeon to replace one of your child's 5 senses. I think only a life or death situation gets bigger than that. So I definitely think that we all went through quite a bit. And of course, I think just like anything in life, when you come out the other side looking pretty good, then you always can look back and say, okay, did you really stress on it? But I still think about that it really is one of your kids' 5 senses. It's the who makes a good device, and if you choose the wrong thing, then you kind of, I don't know, you may look back at it. Or if you choose the wrong surgeon, you may look back at it. But when it turns out okay, I think it validates what you did was the right thing.
Right. Yeah, I know with our situation, I know now that there's a lot of them that are having both cochies put in at the same time, right and left. And we had that option, but, myself, my wife might have been able to go through that, and Abby may have been able to go through that, but I couldn't have gone through it. So I only allowed the one, put in at first, and I guess I wanted to make sure that was going to work out fine. And once we had a smooth ride that first year with that first Koki, original Koki, I was able to stomach doing the second one and went through the second one with flying colors, as as far as anxieties and things of that nature. So, but we had just a tremendous experience both times. So don't really have there's other people that have had issues and things, but my wife and I and Abby really hadn't. The closest issue that we had was we had to go back over there about 2 weeks after the second one. There was an infection there, and they had to just hospitalize her and give her some antibiotics, and that pretty much took care of it, and we were able to go back home. And that's been pretty much it. So we were very blessed and thankful for that.
There's a question for all of you. It's Paul Johnson. One thing that I was surprised to learn, after researching cochlear implant and the surgeries and seeing videos of the surgeries on YouTube, it shocked me that it was a very traumatic procedure, and having to drill through the skull. And then I learned that, at least at the hospital that we would have it done at Children's Memorial, it was an outpatient thing. Was it outpatient for all you guys?
For me, this is Chris, Jeanette. For us, because we live so far away, they kept us an extra day.
Okay.
Because they didn't really want her to travel that far. If we lived in St. Louis, it would have been.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is Ajay. We did both the right and left at two separate points on two successive summers, and yeah, they were outpatient. But I know what you're saying. When I learned it was outpatient, I was also surprised to hear that.
Yeah. This is John Prentice. We're going to have both done at the same time, but because she's already had surgery already for something else, as precaution, they're going to keep Josie overnight, and we're okay with that. We, better safe than sorry for something like this.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Andre. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Carrie reminded me how many times we stayed, like 23 hours and 59 minutes, so they wouldn't consider it inpatient. It was an outpatient thing. So basically at 23 hours and 59 minutes, they said, okay, time to go, sign the papers, here you go.
Interesting.
And both times when Jack had both implants done. So it's like, he's okay, there you go. And then we'd bring Jack home, and the first thing he'd do is start jumping off the couch. And we're like, wait a minute, you just had major surgery, what are you doing? And he came home and he just wanted to jump around and play. And I was very leery, but he was, like I said, when we first started, he's very resilient. And all of our kids are resilient. They'll get through everything that they've been put through. And like I said, when he jumped off that couch, it landed and started running around the house, as parents, Carrie and I were like, he is going to be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the way Abby was, too. I mean, she's a go-getter since her feet hit the floor. She was, even in the hospital, on the way out of St. Louis' Children's Hospital, she was setting up they have a little wagon there with an animal, looked like an animal, and so she was just setting up, looking around. Just like nothing had taken place, so that was it was nice to see.
That is amazing.
Okay, let me get to a few more questions here, and I know it's 9:30 at this point. I want to try to maybe just choose three more questions here, and then we'll just call it a night. Looking down here, as far as extended family members, have any extended family members reacted to the diagnosis? How did they react? Did they seem acceptable? Did they have to be convinced, that your child had a hearing loss? I know for my wife and I, we had to be convinced of it. We would go home and slam the doors, bang pots and pans, and, just hope and pray for some kind of reaction. And then there was nothing. And, after we finally accepted it, I think my parents and Krista's parents accepted it as well. It was difficult, but it was something that they finally did accept. One thing that we didn't like about what some of our family members did was they would say, and my wife hates this, they would say something like, poor thing, or something like that. We didn't want that for Abby. We didn't want her to even feel sorry for herself. And so that was our family's reaction. They would there was a certain word, I can't remember what they would say. I had to ask my wife in a minute. But they would say something to the effect of, poor thing. And that just didn't sit well with us. But I think they've quit saying that now, and Abby's doing great and things, so that's good. So I'll let somebody else take that from there.
Chris, it's Andre. Yeah, I agree with that. I think both sides of our family, my wife's side and my side, they were like, I don't know, you could say in denial. Why did it happen to him? Why is this? Why is that? And, there was a reason for it, and he ended up he's a grown boy, 11 years old, and he's doing great. And I think it was tough for Carrie and I at first. If you look back 11, almost 12 years now, when Jack was born, it's like, where do you go? Where do you turn? And it was, I agree with the pots and pans thing, because I think we did the same thing. We were cooking one night, and Jack was sitting and playing in the living room, and we had taken a pot out, and it had fallen to the floor, and I looked over through the kitchen to see what he did. Didn't even blink. And and that pretty much sealed the deal, saying, okay, now we have to figure out something to do. And he is going to be just fine, and he's doing fine right now. So it was what it is, and I don't know. That's what I got to say about that. So.
Okay.
This is John Prentice. I don't think we ever had an issue with either of our families questioning us about Josie's hearing loss, but their questions were more about the reliability of the technology, the tests for the hearing loss, and how accurate that was, because obviously, she can't, at 2, 3, 4 months old, she can't indicate whether or not she can hear anything or not. So that was, if there was any pushback at all, was probably pushback on the technology, not understanding what is done to test for hearing loss in infants. But our family certainly believed us, because we were able to run the vacuum around Josie. We have a 90-pound chocolate lab with a deep baritone bark, and he would bark really loud on occasion, sitting within 1.5 foot of her, and she wouldn't even flinch. So there was no question that she couldn't hear. So I think overall our families took the news pretty well and didn't give us any resistance about the issue.
Yeah, this is Jim Christos. It was same for us. Nobody really questioned it too much. We went and got the test and all that, and I was a little skeptical on, how do they reliably test an infant, with the, measuring electrical pulses between the ear and the brain. But, in the end, they were right, so.
Just got a couple more questions here. I'm just trying to weed out questions because I'm looking at the age group of the children here. Some of these are just a little bit for older children. I know Andre's on here. He's got Jack at 12. And maybe you can help us with this one a little bit, Andre, if you're still here. What do you know now, and I'll mention something here. What do you know now that you wish you knew back then?
that question posed to me there, Chris?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
yeah, Andre. Yeah, go ahead.
But
I mean,
put
you
me
have
on
the
spot,
oldest
huh?
child on the panel here. What do you know now that you wish you knew back then?
Well, what I know now, what I would have known back then, all the different resources that we have now that are out there. If, almost 12 years ago, there was not a lot out there. When they told us that Jack was severe to profoundly deaf, we were like, well, what do we do? Well, they said, here's a card, go to Children's Memorial in Chicago, they'll take care of it from here. I'm like, wait a minute, what do we do? Well, Carrie and I sat in front of the computer, and we did as much research as we could, but there weren't any organizations like Guide by Your Side. There weren't any organizations by Illinois Hands and Voices out there, which us as parents now are grateful that we have now. That's pretty much what I think right now there, Chris.
Right. Yeah, I think for us, we were blessed because, soon after we found out, we were invited to that Parent Institute in Jacksonville, and that's where we found our resources. I mean, that was a godsend for us, really. And, we got in touch with people and things of that nature, and that was truly a blessing. The people come into our home, the therapists that work with Abby, all of that was, when we first found out, it was like our world had collapsed because it was just an unsure world because there was no one in our family that was deaf. And so we had no idea what to do or where to turn. And, it was just one day at a time. And, we would hear about this group or that group, and then we found our Sarah Sutley, one of our therapists, and another Sarah come in and work with Abby. And it was just, Abby got to where they were like family members, these therapists were, from ages 1 to 3. And then, now we're going through a transition, and we're working with the public school now with speech and things. And, I think Andre hit the nail on the head, is the resources out there is something that I know about now that I wish I knew then. And we did learn those eventually, but, it was just one learning them one day at a time. But there are a lot of resources out there. As I mentioned, Illinois Hands and Voices and the Guide by Your Side are two wonderful things. There's a lot of camps out there. Carrie just went through a whole list of things for this summer. So there's a lot of activity out there that can put our children together, to help them see they're not alone in this thing. There's other kids out there that are doing just fine. And of course I've got a little girl, so she won't probably be playing football. But there's boys out there playing football that have cochlear implants. So those are encouraging to me. So anybody else want to say something about that?
Well, guys, I'm going to have to get going because my 2-year-old son apparently only wants me to put him back to sleep. But I just wanted to say thank you for, for all the ideas that you guys have brought up and the stories.
Okay, thank you for joining us.
Thank
all
you.
right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Good night.
Yep. Good night.
Let me ask the final question here, and we'll just go around here. The question is, what advice do you have? What advice do you have other fathers have for other fathers, the children that have just been diagnosed? What advice would you give them? And I'll just start with me, and then we'll go around. Basically, we just followed the advice of the professionals that we were dealing with. And, like Jack or Andre mentioned, they said, well, you'll go to Children's Memorial. For us, we started out at, I think, St. John's in Springfield and ended up going to St. Louis Children's because St. John's didn't really specialize in cochlear implants. So we wanted to go where they did it the most. And it was just one day at a time, And, we couldn't have swallowed the cochlear implant on day one of learning that our daughter was deaf. We couldn't have done that. but it was just taking it one day at a time, going through the process of the hearing aids and everything. Our daughter wore hearing aids for all the way up to surgery time, a year, from 3 weeks to a year. And we just took it one day at a time, and then the day came that we were able to understand. And, of course, like I said, going back, not to blow the trumpet so much for the Parent Institute, but that was truly something that helped us understand the technologies there now, and we were able to go ahead with that surgery with our daughter. And, you know, everything has worked out good for us, and we're very blessed and thankful for that. So I'll let somebody else take it from there.
Yeah, it's Andre. I agree with what you said, Chris. I think what advice I would give is don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask as many questions as you can. Don't be embarrassed to ask questions. Just ask away, and don't be afraid, or everything will be all right with your kid. Like I said, they are very resilient. They will show you that they can do just about anything. Ask questions and have faith in what they can do, and just watch what they can do as they grow. So that's what I got to say.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of adding to that is that, taking advantage of all the different resources that are out there. Don't be shy.
This is John Prentice. I'd say educate yourself as much as you can, and and select your audiologist carefully. Make sure that he or she tells you what they can do for your child and not what they can't do.
Very good. Is there anyone else want to chime in?
I think you guys have said it all.
Okay, guys. Well, I think we'll call it a night. And if you need any more information or something, I'm sure the Guide by Your Side organization or Illinois Hens and Voices will be there for you. But until then, we'll see you guys later.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Good night.
Fellas.
Good night.
Good evening.
See you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.